Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Passionately Speaking. This is our weekly public speaking training call where we pull back the curtains and we talk about public speaking, advanced topics in public speaking, just to make you even a better speaker than you already are. Today's topic is Rich Speaker, Poor Speaker, and I modeled it after the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which how many of you read that book? Right. It's all about, becoming a millionaire. And of course, Robert Kiyosaki got his lessons from two dads, right? One of them was his dad. One of them was his friend's dad. And so we're modeling it, our lesson after this, because oftentimes to be a better speaker, we have to know what the opposite end of it is. And sure, we see it, but maybe we kind of can push the lines a little bit and try to get away with some of what a poor speaker is, where we don't want to do that. So this is just to kind of like bring that out. So there's no PowerPoint tonight. This is just us having a conversation. So if we take a look at number one, if we take a look at what makes a rich speaker. Now, rich, it means rich in everything, not just money, but rich in message, rich in voice, rich in delivery. That's what I mean here by rich. Just have it all. So number one, they prepare for their speech ahead of time. We've talked a lot about preparation, a lot about becoming the script, a lot about practicing. And why it's so important if you want to bring those riches on, because a poor speaker, they wing it. They wing it. Everything they do by the seat of their pants at the last minute. They think they got it, and they just step on stage, or they step in a meeting, or they step in a board meeting, or whatever, networking meeting, doesn't matter. And they don't know what they're going to say ahead of time. They just wing it. Now, the problem with winging it, and some people can wing it okay because they're professionals, but the problem with winging it is that you get wing it results. In other words, sometimes you could get good results and other times you don't. You never know. But if you prepare and you're deliberate in your delivery, you know what kind of results you're going to get. It's just a matter of how many. Am I going to get 4 leads today or 5 leads today? Because you know you're going to get leads. But if you wing whatever it is you're trying to do, you're not going to know for sure what's going to happen. You may have none. And that's usually what happens. So anytime we go into a meeting, anytime we go anywhere as speakers, we want to be prepared. Just be prepared, because you never know when someone's going to call on you. When you're at a seminar, right? Especially one of mine, I'm probably going to call on you at some point, right, Jackie? Right, CJ? I've done it, right, Dr. Renee? So you just want to be ready. So if Arvee calls on me, what am I going to say, right? She's probably going to want me to introduce myself, right? Tell us a little bit about what you do, and then I might ask you a question or two. So you just have to always be ready. Now, part of being ready, it doesn't necessarily it does mean that you're rehearsed and you're memorized or whatever. But part of being ready is being ready at the event. So in other words, you're not like going, oh, I'm talking over here to so-and-so because just about then I could call on you, right? Or, oh, let me check some email right now and boop, I call on you. And then instead of you being ready, you're going, what was that? What was the question? And now you're all discombobulated and I'm embarrassed for you. So being ready is not just ready with your speech or your elevator, speech or whatever, or whatever you're going to say, but it's being ready at the event. Like, okay, because see, I can see, just like you can see in this kind of world and on stage, when I'm on stage, I can see the audience. You're under a microscope. I can see who looks ready or who's just taking a sip of coffee or looking at their phone. I can tell, and you can tell. So be ready. Be ready always. That's number one. Number two, build trust and rapport with your audience. That's what a good speaker does. They take that time in the beginning. Hey, CJ, how's it going? I just heard you had another seminar gig. Good job. Right? Hey, Jackie, when is your book almost done, right? You should be pretty close to becoming done. Yeah, right? I'll have you speak at my event. Yeah. Ooh, Dr. Love, how was Valentine's Day? Right? I mean, there's so many things you could do to build that trust and rapport with each other. But don't, I mean, oh man, sometimes there was this this company, and it was a woman and her son, and they were like the same personality, really high energy, which was fabulous for what they did. But every time you had a call with them, they started out by saying, oh, look at somebody new's coming in. They started out by saying, is it okay if we could just skip to the chase and just go right to it? And I'm like, well, of course I had to say yes, but they missed the rapport. I didn't know them that well. And when you miss the rapport, you can miss the sale. Say it with me. When you miss the rapport, you can miss the sale. You're all muted. Hello, Daniela. Hello. How are you? Welcome back, girl.
I'm great. I'm great. How are you, Arvee?
Good. Welcome back. I keep thinking, when are you going to come back here?
Yeah,
No?
I was able to join you today. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And hello, Benita. Now, what is this? What is with the hood? You look a little like a character in a movie. I don't know. Are you going to bring a big staff? You know, are you going to be the hatchet girl? What is going on?
It's called 10 degrees below zero.
Oh, is it? Well, look at mine does the same thing. Watch, but this one turns a little more voguey, right?
Oh, I love that. That's so swag. I love that. That's very called like bougie. Arvee. Bougie.
Bougie, I don't know what it is. Okay. Well, don't you have a heater, Benita?
Been in the basement with air
probably.
dryer and freezing pipes, and I've got my winter coat hood. I'm warming up. I'm thawing myself.
Where's Benita at, Arvee? Where's she at?
Kansas, right? Kansas.
An hour from Kansas City in a university town.
Hour from Kansas City. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us. We are doing our Rich Speaker, Poor Speaker after Rich Dad, Poor Dad. All right. So again, number 2, rich speaker builds rapport with their audience. A poor speaker is full of themselves, right? They start out, yes, they tell their story like we do, but they don't have any rapport in before it, and they don't build rapport after it. It's just, look at me. We can hear narcissism, right? The minute somebody opens their mouth, we can tell, we can hear it, we can see it in their body language. Now, it's okay to be that way. I know some people that are like that, and they're brilliant at what they do. But if you know that kind of person, they've got to build rapport first so that we can accept some of that, some of that full of themselves kind of feeling, because a lot of them, I found are doctors, and of course they've traveled, and they're wise, and they're worldly, and they've got a lot of training, so they deserve to be like that. But you've got to build rapport with your audience, so they can get away with it if they make sure they have to build twice the rapport that you and I have to build. All right, number 3. Show appreciation to the audience. That's what a rich speaker does, is always show appreciation. So what's the difference between building trust and rapport and appreciation? There's a fine line, right? It's a lot of the same, but when I talk about trust and rapport, I'm talking about in the beginning of your speech, right? And there's lots of ways to build that trust and rapport. When people come in the room, make sure you're saying something to them, make sure you're calling people by name, saying please and thank you and all of that. Appreciation, what I mean here, is what you do throughout the presentation when you're in the education part. when you're in the close part. And certainly right before we end, we want to appreciate our audience for being there. So there's a lot more appreciation that's shown, throughout than even the trust and rapport that we build. We have to build trust and rapport in the beginning. Forget it. If you don't build it in the beginning, you will not have it for the rest of the speech. So we build that in the beginning, but we appreciate and we love on our audience the entire speech, whatever that might be. Number 4, captivate the audience with stories. Captivate your audience. That's what a rich speaker does. They bring stories. They bring stories to their presentation. And there's so many, I don't know, why don't you just all mute, or CJ, make sure everybody's muted, just so we can get a good recording, because what happens sometimes if you're in speaker mode, all of a sudden you become bigger than life, right, on the recording. So let me talk about stories, because I'm big in stories. If you've been with me for a while, you know that there's 4 stories that I teach. I have a storytelling selling class, and on and on. And I'm a professional storyteller, which means I've been trained and I've been paid. And that makes me a professional. And I used to put on story concerts when I was in corporate America. So I love stories. And one of the stories I want to share, and I've shared it before, but it's so important that I want to share it again. And that's my story about this man who I heard speak. His name is Ben Gay III. Yes, that's his real name. And Dr. Love knows him, Dr. Renee knows him. But I'm in a class with him. This is a real live class. I got to meet him, and I still talk to him today, probably 10, 15 years later. And through Facebook, of course, and connections. And he was telling us, his whole speech was a story after story after story. And he talks about closing sales, but he also talks about leadership and teaches leadership. So he's telling the story about how he went to the prison where Charles Manson lived, right, essentially. And then he's telling the story, and then he keeps going. And of course, me, I'm in the audience, I'm going, wait. What was it like? Well, what was it like to talk to Charles Manson? Because Charles Manson, once he saw Ben Gay there, he asked to see him. And Charles Manson is in isolation. And he probably will be for the rest of his life. He's in an isolated solitary cell. And so Ben Gay stopped, and he went back, and he said that when he talked to Charles Manson, it was as if he was the only person in the world that existed. That's how Charles Manson made him feel. Significant. Now, how many times in your life have you really felt significant when someone was talking to you, really talking to you and almost looking through your eyes into your inner soul and understanding who you really are? Very few times, I'm sure. And probably maybe even fewer times that you really were that present with someone that you made them feel so significant that they were mesmerized to you and they didn't want to leave. This was a killer, for heaven's sakes, a mass murderer. But he made Ben Gay feel so significant that Ben Gay stayed there and talked to him for a long, long time. This isn't a story, don't get me wrong, about Charles Manson. It's a story about being present and making your audience feel significant at all times. And that is what a $1 million speaker does, as well as a rich speaker. And when we talk about rich, because we have a couple of people that just joined us, I'm talking about rich in delivery, rich in your message, rich in your education, rich in your voice, rich in your atmosphere and your environment, everything. We're not necessarily talking about the money. There's a lot more riches out there than just money. So captivate your audience with stories and be present in that story. Be present with that person. Now, a poor speaker, they don't tell stories They brag about themselves. So their stories are always about them. And it isn't about a lesson, a story with a lesson, like my camel story, but it's a brag on story. I did this. I did this. Even their testimonials have that edge about them, where it's not like this is what the client was struggling with. They came and saw me and now they're doing this. No, it was, I did that. I turned that person into the success and millionaire they are today. So it's just a little different, but we feel it. So a poor speaker, again, talks about themselves all the time and brags about themselves. So we have to, we want to make sure that we watch it. It's just a matter of how you develop that story. You can tell a story about what happened to you without getting your brag on. So it's just a matter of how you tell the story and how you learn to tell the story and practicing. Remember that poor speaker wings it more than ever practice. They just get up, they're full of themselves, and they just talk. And so their stories can be quite harsh too, because they're not planned. They're not deliberate. I do not tell a story unless it's for a purpose. And it has to be for the purpose that whatever it is I'm wanting to teach you, the lesson that I would love you to get from that story. Or maybe there's multiple lessons. So let me share a story about Tony Robbins. Now, everybody sees Tony, and I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. Boy, no one can say anything bad about my hero, Tony Robbins. And I used to want to be a female Tony Robbins until I figured it out that was stupid, right? Can you imagine me 6'8"? Right? I just want to be an Arvee Robinson instead of a female Tony Robbins. But that's how much I really adored him. And Tony Robbins, as we see him today, and especially, I went to UPW. How many went to UPW? UPW, the Unleash the Power Within. And of course, when I went, I did not want to be in general seating. I just don't, right? I always do VIP or whatever I can, right? And I know all of you do too, because that's what a rich speaker does, and a rich entrepreneur and everything like that. So I got the upfront seats. I paid twice as much or 3 times as much. And so I got to go into thinking I could go into the little room and somehow Tony Robbins would be in that room, right, before the event, in the green room talking to us, but he wasn't. But anyway, so I went, it was several years ago now. It was right at the end of my corporate career, so it was about 17 years ago. But anyway, I was like within the first 5 rows, and we could go in first. And we had this little green room where we could go and get water and food, and we got a special bag that I still have today. And it's just a delightful experience. But that's not how Tony Robbins started. We all see Tony Robbins now and his success, right? But that's not how he started. So how did he start? He started when he was very young, 18, 19 years old. He's sleeping out of his car. He lives actually, his parents lived with his mom, single mom, in Azusa, which is right near me. It's like 20-minute drive away from where I live right now, Azusa, of all places. But anyway, so when he's 18, 19, he had an opportunity to go and see Jim Rohn. Well, if you're a speaker, you've got to know who Jim Rohn is, because he is the father of all time of speakers. And so he wanted to go see him. Well, he had, $35 to his name. He went to see Jim Rohn, fell in love, of course, thought this is, I want him to be my mentor. This is what I want to do. This is it, right? Well, Jim Rohn was selling a class that was $1,000. Now, think about this. This was, Tony is, I think he's like 48 or in his 50s or something like that.
He's 60 now.
60 now. You're kidding me. 60. Okay. I probably was then. Thank you. So he's 60 now. So you can imagine how, what was that? 40 years ago. $1,000 was like 10,000 to us, probably, right? Or at least 5. So he didn't have the money. He really wanted to go to this workshop, this seminar. And so he went to the bank and he asked to borrow money. And so the bank, the bank loan officer says, well, okay, where do you live? And so he put an address down, and it happened to be the address of the liquor store, right? The 7-Eleven in Azusa. And the person, the loan officer, she was a woman, and she said, there's no residence there that I know of. And he said, well, it's actually 7-Eleven, but the owner told me I could use it for my address and you could just send mail there. And she's like, And so she's like, well, what do you want this for anyway? So he goes and tells her all about Jim Rohn and all about his vision for his future. That he is going to do this. He's going to be a seminar leader. He is going to save lives for a living. He is going to motivate people. He's going to change people's lives. And he was just so excited and so enthusiastic that this woman thought, now she didn't want to give him, she couldn't just give him the money, but she went and talked to her boss and talked her boss into giving Tony the $1,000. Tony went to Jim Rohn's conference, again, became a student of Jim Rohn, and the rest is history. And look at where he is today. So think about that story. There's always someone in your life that has opened the door for you to bigger and better things. Maybe it's time you thank that person. If it wasn't for the loan officer, he would have maybe never become. Now, I think Tony Robbins would have found a way, don't you? He probably would have found a way to get that money, but somehow it was her mission to get that loan to go through. And of course, he paid every penny of it back with interest. So bring story. So what's the story? What's the lesson? Think about it in there. What's the lesson in that story? And you can use that story when you're trying to teach that lesson. Right? Who can tell me what the lesson is? And there's several lessons in there. Who can tell me what they got as the lesson? Jackie?
Dream big and ask for what you want.
Dream big, ask for what you want. Go for it, right?
Mhm.
Go for it like you were 19 years old. Sometimes when we get older, we start thinking we want something and we start letting everything get in the way. Oh, I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of this. I can't do it. And I hear that all the time. I hear it all the time, right? It's always going to be something. And that's what I say. You're always going to have an excuse. No matter what, you're going to have an excuse. What is it today? Right? So Dr. Renee, what?
Ask with intention and be in gratitude before you even ask.
Mm-hmm. Right. And also
Ask
with
commitment also.
Yeah. What about vision? Tony shared his vision, and he did it through storytelling so well that she saw the vision and believed it. That's the power of story. CJ.
He enrolled her into that vision, and she saw it, and she went to bat for him.
Yeah. And that's what we want to do as storytellers and people and leaders. Enroll people. Take the time. All right, Benita. What was the lesson in that story? Is there any other lessons that you heard or saw?
Well, another lesson could be to believe in yourself, enough to go out on a limb, Take a risk.
Believe in yourself. He believed in himself. He said, I'll pay back every penny plus interest. And he was living in his car. Right? Daniela. Am I saying it right? Daniela?
Daniela. Yes. I think Well, I think all of these points are great. I think he just, I think from the very beginning, he even, the fact that he came up with an address, he knew that he was living in his car, and he went and found an address to even put down. That's even the first step, like I'm gonna need this money. I mean, he used the first $35. I mean, he invested in himself right there and then. I think it goes before the loan. He knew that he needed to change. And I think that moment of knowing that where you are and being conscious of the place that you are is not working, and that you need to make a change and committing to a change and taking that first step. I think that is a great lesson as well.
Yes, and I like what you said. He was prepared. He knew he'd need an address for a loan document, even though he was 19 years old. And so he did his research ahead of time, or did something ahead of time. So he came in, he didn't come in like a stupid kid and go, I'm in my car, right? He was prepared. Love it, love it. Hey, Jean or Janine, our ladies with bags over their head, would you like to talk?
I was going to say vision, but also self-determination.
And he's full of that, isn't he?
Yes.
Self-determination. Love it. Jean, do you have a comment?
Well, you can't win if you don't quit. So he seemed to be, that kind of person, with tenacity, and we can't give up when we know we have, and we all been designed to be winners. So that's a great thing.
Okay, great. All of you are right. They're all right. There's many lessons in that story. So you can see how you could use that story to drive home several different points. So it's not like just one point. It's like whatever you're trying to drive home, it probably has that, you could probably use something like that story to drive home a point. I mean, because again, look at it where he is now. Look at where he is now. People only see what they see today. Even Brandon Bouchard, nobody sees it. He's a great, he's a millionaire. It took him 20 years to get where he is, right? 20 or 30 years. Go and look at the young Bouchard. And, if you want to see somebody in their younger days, go to YouTube. Of course, YouTube, it's not 40 years old, but, good, 20 years? I don't know, CJ, how old is YouTube? About 20 years old or something? It's not 50 or 60. So you're not going to find them when they're teenagers, maybe necessarily, but go to their earlier videos and you'll see, you'll see where they came and that they worked up to their brilliance, just like all of you are. You're all on the road to brilliance. Excellent. All right, next one. That was number 4. Number 5 is give the audience an experience. Rich speakers give your audience an experience. So I just stopped. I could have just kept talking through all my 10 teaching points, but I stopped and gave you all an experience, didn't I? Now, again, I'm not trying to brag on it all. I'm trying to demonstrate. Even though, it was so natural, you probably didn't even realize, oh, she's given me an experience, because it's very natural. And that's what you want to do to your audience as well. Make it very, very natural. As opposed to the poor speaker will just be a talking head and talk and talk and talk and talk and be like a fire hose, giving you a bunch of stuff. And you're going, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. And you're going, do, because it's just too much. You just check out. And we've all been there. We've all seen those kind of speakers. I was talking to a guy today who has an event that I'm speaking at in the future. And so I just kind of asked him, well, what kind of other speakers do you have, right? And other than the two speakers that are two of my students that he's having, they're very dry speakers, like not the mayor, but like the superintendent of blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, because he wants me to come and guest at one of the meetings. And I'm like, well, who do you got? And then the superintendent of blah, 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 and the blah, 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 and the county jury of blah. I'm like, oh my God, no, I don't want to go. You know? I know what they're going to be like. They're going to be a talking head. They're not going to rehearse. Now, that's where a lot of the, full of themselves sometimes come from. And I don't mean it in a bad way. And maybe that's just a characteristic of a politician. I'm not sure if they learned that somewhere. But when I first started 17 years ago, I had this desire to really get into the political arena and help with speeches, because I felt that there was really a need for better speeches in politics, especially at the local levels. But I learned very quickly that they don't want that they think that the audiences want to be bored and are just used to it, and that's all they're going to do. Okay. I went to entrepreneurship. Okay. So, number 6, speak from the heart. And I've added soul, because we've all learned for several years, speak from the heart, you become authentic so much that I think people are a little jaded and they don't really know what that means anymore, to really speak from the heart. So I'm changing that word to soul. Let's give it a new word, because then we can give it a new meaning and you can go deeper with what it is. So right before this call, there we go. Right before, that's a big foot, big shoe. Right before this call, I'm coaching somebody that's entering one of the Toastmaster contests. And, I don't do that a lot, but if someone comes to me, I teach people how to do TED Talks and Toastmaster, win a contest and stuff like that. And I was telling this, he had a good topic and all of this, but I'm like, you got to be on your soapbox. This has got to come from here. You've got to want more than anything to convince your audience of your point of view. And there's got to be a reason for it. And there's got, all of this stuff, because he's talking about something that I'm like, huh? What is that? Right? Without trying to be political, he's being political. And so I'm like, you got to speak from the gut, man. You got to speak from the soul. And, it's a lot different speaking than Toastmaster speech, to really have a cause burning inside of you, a wrong that you want to make right. Just stand up and shout it out, So that's what I mean when I say speak from the soul. A rich speaker will speak from the soul. They will have a deeper message. It won't be just surface stuff. It'll be deep, the reasons why we need to do this. The dangers, and maybe even Jackie, for you, like, not just, maybe eat all the colors of vegetables, but why we need to do that. Because it's, the red is for our heart and the purple is for our spleen and the green is for our eyes or whatever. There's got to be a reason. Or the green broccoli's for Roto-Rooter. And if you don't, you'll die, for heaven's sakes, or you'll age before your time, or you'll have congestive heart failure like my husband does. There's got to be more of a reason and more of a purpose down to the soul level. If you're a man or woman of faith, because this is God's body, right? And he bought it with a price. So you got to keep it healthy, right? We're always playing nice and surface. So let's dive deeper. We've got a deeper message that has a deeper meaning, and that comes from the soul. Now, a poor speaker, again, is a talking head. They have no soul. They would never get down there. They're not usually trained at all because they know it all already, right? They're full of themselves. They already know how to speak and do everything. So they're not going to get trained either. Not like you, where rich speakers get trained over. That's a bonus. That's not any one of these. That's a bonus. But rich speakers get trained and trained and trained and trained. Right? I just was in a workshop with somebody the other day, and this woman reached out to me. She goes, "I know you." And I'm like, "Really? Okay, great." Yeah. She goes, "You've trained speakers, and sometimes they come to me afterwards." And I'm like, "What?" And so she told me what she does. It's kind of like what she does. You know, I build the house, and she'll put the paint on it. You know, or she'll put the flowers in the yard. Okay, now you have your speech, right? You know how to speak, and then maybe you want to add some inspiration or some sparkles or something, right? And I was like, "Man, we need to do something together, girl, you and me." And then, you know, I didn't have her number. We didn't connect. We thought we were going to connect, and that didn't happen. But we'll connect one day. Anyway, so rich speakers continue their education, just like all of you, by coming here every single week. It's continuing because I'm always telling you or teaching you something new and different, right? Right? So it's always new and different. You don't want to miss it. And like millions. Thank you, Jackie. And like last week, it was like, what was it, CJ? What was last week?
Valentine's.
And what was the topic?
How to make your audience your Valentine.
Who teaches that? Nobody, right? You're only going to get it here. All right, so that's number 6. Number 7, give your audience, a rich speaker gives their audience value without overwhelming. So they over-deliver without overwhelm. And you know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen, by overwhelm. That story that I tell a lot is that when I saw that speaker at the Santa Monica Library, and his title was 101 Ways to Grow Your Mediation Business, I knew we were in trouble. There's no way, even in an hour talk, you can give 121 of anything, much less go deep. So he lost his audience because he was all these things of a poor speaker, full of himself, a talking head, no audience participation. You could tell he was winging it off the cuff. I mean, all these things, and people were just right and left, just clicking out. So we don't want to do that. The title matters too. It's the promise of the delivery. So how do you over deliver without overwhelming? By going deep. 3 things, right? 3 or 4 things, and go deeper and give some of the how-tos so that they at least feel like they have something without being full, right? You're not going to give every how-to and every secret, but give them enough that they've got a taste so they know if they want more. It's kind of like the Lay's potato chip approach. And I'm telling you, I have not had a Lay's potato chip probably for 30 years. Why? Because you can't eat just one. Anybody with me? Those suckers are delicious. They are great. Those and Cheetos, forget about it. It's the salt, I'm sure, but the Lay's potato chip approach, you want to give that potato chip, put enough salt on it where it tastes so good. Look at Jackie's probably like turning over here, like Lay's potato chips, right? I know you haven't had one for 60 years or something, but they are delicious. And the barbecue, never mind. All right, so, but I don't eat them, Jackie, not anymore. I don't buy that stuff. Okay, so go deep. Give them a taste and then go deep, and then they'll want more. That's the key. Number 8, a rich speaker listens and watches the audience. They're aware of every square if you're in Zoom, or they're aware of everybody and what they're doing in the audience. You scan the audience. You look around. You see, are they going like this? Right? Are they too hot? Are they yawning? right? Well, look, if they're yawning, doesn't mean they're tired or bored. It could be they're too hot. If they're like this and yawning, they're probably too hot. If it's only one person, they probably just didn't get any sleep the night before. You don't call them on it, but you just one person, you're not going to change the room to ice cold, but maybe if it looks like a trend, you've got to do something. You've got to stop and do something. So pay attention. If a lot of people are on your phone, you better change it up. And one of the ways to change it up, and when I say change it up, Tony Robbins says change the state, right? Everybody remember that? Change the state. How do you change the state? A physical activity. Have everybody get up. So sometimes what I just say, okay, everybody get up and get in your hero pose. All right, so everybody get up right now and get in your hero pose. All right, so now see, oh, look at, now she's gonna see me. I gotta do my waist thing, right? Dr. Renee is gonna, no, I don't have a waist, but I have a tummy. All right, so your hero pose. Now, whatever it might be Superman, it might be, might be the Spider-Man, right? For me, it's Wonder Woman, right? Wonder Woman. So get in your, okay, so that's Superman. CJ's in Superman mode. All right, Jackie, what mode is that? Who is that? Who is that? Is that a female?
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid. Okay, good. All right, Dr. Renee.
Both my knees are busted right now, Arvee. I fell. And so, yeah, I'm in a lot of pain. So I didn't want to say anything. So that's why I had to get up and I walked really slow.
So well, we will keep you in your prayers. So if you were in a mode, what would
yeah. I love the Wonder Woman. I love the Superman, and then maybe walking in place, or then if they're all sitting down, maybe have them press a 1 or a 2 just to get them, because it's on Zoom.
Right.
Something like that.
So Danielle, what is your superhero pose?
I mean, I'm the limitless pose. I don't have I'm the superhero right now.
I love it. I love your background. Your painting is really cool.
It's my
Very cool.
My own
beautiful.
All right, Benita, what is your pose? I see you doing something. What is your pose? You're muted.
I'm Superwoman. I used to read Superwoman comics when I was a kid.
Nice, Superwoman. All right, Janine, what is your pose?
I'm a goddess, Oshun.
Oh, you are a diva.
Diva plus.
Diva. All right, Jean, what is your superpower pose? Superhero pose. I think we saw it earlier. I think she was in that movie.
Can you hear me? Wonder Woman. And don't ask me why. Wonder Woman.
Yay.
Wonder Woman.
Yay.
I think you were coming from that movie. What was that movie with Dustin Hoffman? Breakout. Breakout. You were the actress in Breakout. That's what she looked like. Okay. Who was that actress? Wasn't that Priscilla Presley? That's something for thought. Okay, let's go to, so that's number 8. Listen to your audience. If they seem bored, do something like that to change the state, either something physical, or you can say, okay, right now we're gonna have a hot seat. I need a volunteer. Boom, get a volunteer and just change it up, right? Maybe you weren't planning on doing it, but you're gonna need to save the life of the audience. All right. Next, let's go to 9. 9 is sell from the platform. A rich speaker will learn how to sell from the platform because they know that in order to help somebody, they need to take your next program, your workshop, whatever it might be, right? So they sell from the platform. A poor speaker, all right? Now let's get to the poor speaker as far as number 8. Instead of listening or watching the audience, they just listen to themselves. They like to hear themselves talk. So they never notice the audience. Sometimes they're even looking around, they're looking above, they might be looking at notes, they might be looking at stuff, but they never really see you. All right, again, number 9, rich speaker sells from the audience. A poor speaker ends their speech by saying thank you and walking off, giving no more value, giving no way to get transformation. They just inform and leave, right? And you go, oh, okay. And then you try to think, well, what did you learn or what did you get? Zero. So that's not what a rich speaker does. A rich speaker, of course, leaves a great impression. They sell you into a transformation into their next workshop or program, or at least gives you a way to get more, whether it's come and see me, come and talk to me, or something like that. Number 10, and boy, we really flew through this hour. Number 10, a rich speaker invests in themselves, i.e. training. So they invest in themselves, not only for speaker training, but other kind of training. Ever think of taking an improv? You want to get to be a good speaker? Take an improv class. You want to be a better speaker? Take a theater class, an acting class, for heaven's sakes, right? I've taken acting, storytelling. I haven't taken improv, but I've always wanted to, but it's something I haven't done yet. But any other kind of.
But do you like Toastmasters? Do you like that?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but all of you are so beyond that. Jackie, are you trying to come in again? I see you trying to come in. The Toastmasters, I love Toastmasters, but you're beyond that. That's kind of like kindergarten training compared to what you're learning here.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's
You know,
no
gets
question.
over the fear of speaking, but all of you are so far beyond that. No, I'm talking about paying for, some other kind of different
Okay,
training.
so excuse me,
know?
Arvee, what do you feel about TEDx platforms?
I think it's great. Everybody should do a TEDx. The problem right now, though, is TEDx people aren't meeting. So if you do a TED Talk, you're going to be
TED Talk.
standing on the stage. They're going to be and nobody's going to be in the audience. That's
okay, what's the distinction between a TEDx and TED Talk?
There's no difference at all, except that it started out with TEDx and then other people copied it. So in other words, you could create your own TED platform and just call it TED. You can't call it TEDx, but you can make a TED platform, right? You can make a TED platform and invite people to do a TED Talk, 18 minutes.
So yeah, what is TED? What does the acronym mean? Arvee, please. Do you know?
I forgot. CJ, why don't you look that up for us real quick? What does TED mean? It stands for technical something.
Like
educational something?
It's technology, education, and design.
Oh,
there we
brilliant.
go. Thanks so much.
Technology.
Say it one more time.
Technology, education, and design.
Perfect. So those are the three kind
education.
of topics you can talk about.
And design.
Oh, entertainment.
That's what it started out as. TED started out as technology, education, and design. And it was actually funded by a philanthropist in California. When he passed away, it was put in a trust, and his trust was made into building knowledge through experts talking about diverse subjects. So it's not necessarily just technology, education, and design anymore. It's basically anything, any subject. And TEDx are smaller TED events that are held in different locations, not necessarily at a TED event. The TED event is one event per year that is held, I believe, still in California, or is hosted in California. But the TEDx are satellite events that are sponsored by TED. Still, you still have to be connected to TED, but it's all connected to this main trust fund, this beginning trust fund.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Now
Thank you.
Yeah, I was coaching one of my clients that's in Canada to do a TED Talk, and it was in Las Vegas in January. But she couldn't go after like 6 months of, coaching and being ready, because if she did, because of COVID, she couldn't get back into Canada.
Oh,
What a shame. I was like going to tell, I'll take it, I'll take your place. But like, it doesn't work like that. You have to audition and, all kinds of things. There's some tape you have to go through. But thank you, Daniela, for sharing that with us. Well, we are right at the top of the hour. So the last
okay.
thing I want to say before you leave, don't go anywhere, is a poor speaker, what do they invest in? They invest in material things. Yeah, nothing. They invest in speaker shoes or something, red
Speaker
shoes.
shoes.
Speaker shoes. I have speaker shoes. Don't you have
Yeah,
speaker
no,
shoes?
Manolo Blahniks. There you go, RV. That's a speaker shoe. But you got it going on. You got the good swag. That's all good.
It's swag. Anyway,
That's
so
because
that's
they're investing in soul.
that what?
They invest in speaker shoes because they're investing in soul.
The soul. That's their
Ooh,
Manolos have the red bottoms.
good
And it's
one.
like $2,500 shoes or $1,800
Whoa.
just for the shoes. So
Good.
that's a good investment. I mean, girls, what's going on. They sit on their stool, they cross their legs, and you see the red bottom. Oh, that's $1,800 or $2,500 shoes. Easy, like just like that.
Oh,
That's one speech.
Zoom
Go
killed that.
figure. That's right.
You killed that.
Now we're in pajama bottoms
That's for
and
sure.
slippers.
That's for sure.
Yeah, business on top and party on the bottom.
There
That's
you
right.
go.
That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to respect your time. So thank you so much for coming. Tune in next week for another good one. And come on, get out there and speak. How many speaking engagements have you got already? I've got a calendar.
Oh, I got a lot.
Speaking
Oh,
engagement.
RV, you're on Clubhouse too, right? You're
Yeah.
on Clubhouse? Yeah, me too. I did 2 on Valentine's Day about
Oh,
love.
good
And
for
it's called
you.
Dr. Nay's Love Jam. It's like, okay,
Good for you. I don't
thank
know
you.
how people have time for that. I tell you, it's a big,
It's a big deal.
I mean, it is like constant interruptions,
Yep.
constant. But yeah, I've already hosted a couple classes myself. All right.
Good.
Well, what I'm getting at is that get out there and speak. And remember when you do to always speak with
Passion.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yay. Goodbye, everyone. See you next week. Woohoo!
Thank you. Fantastic. Great
Welcome.
presentation. Thanks, RV. Bye, Bonita.
Goodbye.
Bye, CJ.